Good afternoon, YouTube. It's me, Richard Page, aka the Emperor of Female Combat Sports Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, it's been a while since I got to drop that moniker. As you know, I'm mostly focused on bodybuilding, but every now and again, I like to dip into the world of combat sports, MMA, boxing, whatever comes, especially involving women. As you know, my channel is mostly dedicated to the ladies because they don't get enough recognition or talked about. But I've been a boxing fan for a long time. Ever since I was a kid, I don't watch it much like I used to. Maybe just the fighters I used to grow up with are gone, and the fighters that come in now just don't have that same mentality or attitude that those old school guys had. But that's how life is. But anyway, there's a fight that came on yesterday, and it is the one of the biggest women in the sport of bodybuilding. Boxing. That is Claressa T-Rex Shields. She is the GWOAT, the greatest woman of all time. She's been a multiple-time champion across the board, a two-time gold medal Olympian. I mean, this young lady has done pretty good, and she's not even 30 yet. I think she'll be turning 30 in March. And she has fought on several different weight classes, from all the way to middleweight, super middleweight, and now she's been fighting as a heavyweight in the last year or so. So last night, she was going after to become the undisputed women's heavyweight title in the WBC, and her opponent is one Miss Danielle, the New Era Perkins. Now, these two ladies, were at one point friends. And, sometimes, with Claressa, she has made friends with some ladies, and then that friendship kind of falter, whatever the issue. And this was for the WBC Silver Heavyweight Women's title. And Claressa was going for it, and I think, Danielle was held. And also, I think Danielle also had a title, because Danielle was like only 5-0 when she came into it with 3 knockouts, while Claressa was she's like 15-0. And Claressa's been like in the game for a long time. Her last fight was about last year, where she knocked out her opponent around the second round. I mean, I saw some of that fight. It was a short fight. I mean, probably one of the shortest fights in her career, because usually she goes the distance. And with Danielle, she had a fight recently, and she defeated her opponent, I believe, by knockout. Because I tried to get information on that. But, Claressa was also dealing with something. She had dealing with an injury, something around her shoulder, and I saw that she's planning on maybe probably have surgery this year to fix it. And that means she might be out of boxing for at least a year or more. So these two ladies, they really were going at it in social media. This is at the final weigh-in for the fight, and the fight was going to be held in her backyard of Flint, Michigan, where she's fight quite a few often. She's fighting in Flint, Michigan. She's fighting in England. This is a great opportunity for her to fight in her own backyard. But it was, pretty decent fight, because I was lucky enough to find it on YouTube. It was on the Zone. I ain't gonna pay for no app or any kind of streaming service. If I can find it for free on YouTube, I will watch it. That's the thing. That's why I don't do a lot of commentary like my man Karma Breaker or BJ No Filter, or me and my man the Coach, because I don't watch the streams. If I can catch it on YouTube, I watch it and I would talk about it. And both ladies, they were pretty good. I mean, at first, Danielle was kind of tentative. She was throwing a lot of jabs, trying to using her reach as an advantage, try to get a feel of Claressa Shields. Claressa, she was going in hard. She usually throws a lot of combos. One thing I was listening to commentary, guys, she don't do enough body shots. And that's the thing, fighters need to do more body shots. Yes, one thing go after the head, but I've seen fighters who got taken down when you give a good shot in the liver, in the kidneys, in the chest, and you take out their lungs. Remember, body blows can do just as much damage as a headshot. But anyway, they were going back and forth. At one point, Claressa really hit Danielle with a good shot. He even got her some a little bit. Even one point, Danielle was attacking her, but Claressa was fighting off the ropes, and she was throwing some great shots. Chris is right-handed, has a strong hand, her right hand, and Danielle, as you call in boxing, she's a southpaw. That means she's left-handed. Sometimes that's what you consider an awkward fighter, because you're trying to fight from a different stance. And with one point, because the stance was so wide, there's one part where with round play final, the fourth round, Danielle tripped. She kind of fell back. Some say it was a knockout. Some say it was a trip. Maybe the feet tangling because she had that wide stance. But tell you, Claressa was really throwing some hammers. Danielle's doing pretty good herself, especially she's 42 years old, and Claressa's not even 30. I mean, and Chris is a Olympia fighting champion. 2 gold medals. Danielle, she's fought in world championships, but never the Olympias. But she does have some medals in those. But I'm telling you, this is where around about it was the last of the towards the last seconds of the 10th round, and Claressa hit Danielle with a shot, and she just crumbled. It was. I heard the guy clicking the little clock, the clickers right there. It's 10 seconds in, and then had to stop and then get her breath and try to get stuff together. Referee gave a standing 8 count. She was kind of like her facing the corner. I mean, if it was that extra minute, if they had an extra minute, I'm telling you, that fight would have been over by TKO or just a straight knockout. Claressa really was throwing a lot of more volume. She was really moving. Like I said, no shab against Danielle, but she just being like she's a lot taller. She wasn't. She has some footwork, but I think like she's got a little weird out. And it's like I said, she's only fought 5 fights in her career as a pro boxer. That's one thing. You got amateurs, you got pros, but Claressa has been fighting for the last 4 or 5 years as a pro. And that's the thing is, you're putting a more established pro who has records, who has belts and titles, and she's now 16-0, and now she's now the overall, the undisputed heavyweight champion in her division in heavyweight, and that's great, Claressa. I mean, it was a unanimous decision, meaning the judges went across the boards. Danielle never got one round in the fight. Sometimes the fighter might get a round here, around there, but this was just a complete dominance for Claressa Shields. And like I said, I'm a fan of Claressa Shields. I may not like some of her antics, but I'm a fan of her, especially since this, February is Black History Month. And it's great to see a strong black woman, especially in sport as boxing, has always been male dominant, go as far as she does. Maybe she not be as top of the top of some of the men boxers, but still, she represents herself, being, one of the greatest women in boxing right now. I mean, there's quite a few others. We just had that last month. We had Serrano versus Taylor. And, this was not as good as that fight, I would say. Decent, but not as good. So, what's the plan for Claressa? She made a debut 3 years ago in MMA fighting PFL. She won her first fight, and then she lost her second fight. Then we didn't see her do that for a while, and she came back in her third fight and won. So she's 2-1 in MMA. She's working for PFL. And then there was a relationship with her and Chris Cyborg. They were friends. They were cool. But then now they've been arguing, talking back and forth. Chris Cyborg's also got into boxing. And there's talks about probably maybe set up a fight in the future. One thing is that Chris has to go up. She fights in, I think, about maybe around about the women's featherweight, or I think, kind of like women's featherweight in a way. She can probably fight someone like maybe Amanda Serrano or maybe Chrissy or Katie Taylor, but with Claressa Shields, she has to come down almost to middleweight, to fight her, because Claressa's a big girl. She's 5'8", that's tall for a woman, pretty tall for a woman. Usually a woman might be 5'4", 5'5", something a little shorter than that. But Claressa's a big girl, and Cyborg's not a small woman either, but she has to really put on some size if you want to fight Claressa. So as that for now, she's planning on maybe getting surgery for her arm, and that's going to put her out for at least a good few months. We may not even see in action till maybe the first of next year, whenever she does surgery. Because you know what? People can keep forgetting. Fighters are always dealing with injuries. Like my man coach tells me, he even did a little discussion of it last night, and he talked about the fight too. I missed some of it because I went out to sleep, but fighters always have to deal with injuries. It's just how the fight game is. No matter what it is, there's always some things nagging. Could it be legs, your arm, your shoulders? And sometimes they can get really to a point where you have to take a step back. You might not see a fighter for a good while because they had surgery for this or that. I mean, there's one fighter who had an issue with orbital bone, but she still hadn't got surgery for that. These things come up in these combat sports, especially for women. It's tougher for women because, they are, I won't say they are not as strong as men. They're strong at some points, but some things they still have to work on, But, Claressa is now 4-time undisputed women's champion, and across the board, in at least about 4 different division in different weight classes and several titles. Again, the plan is maybe we might see her compete next year once she gets the surgery, whenever that happens, because sometimes you want to make a lot of time to recover, to fully get yourself decent shape. Not going to be in the best shape, never as a fighter, but at least decent enough shape to maybe get back into the ring or maybe get back into the cage, whichever one of them. So, like I said, I'm a fan of the GWOAT, and I think she's an amazing lady. So, wish her best of luck in the future and congratulations. Also, is she her fiance Papoose was the one who wrapped her into the show because it was the show. Their fight was the main event. So congratulations to her and maybe a future her and Papoose. And reach me on our page, aka the Emperor of Female Combat Sports Talk. Don't like, subscribe. I am out. Congratulations, quote.